Hello students, welcome to the video tutorial of Informatics Practices for class 12. Today we'll be discussing the first part of the chapter, Introduction to Computer Networks. So students, as soon as you get an introduction of this chapter, there must be a question arising in your mind that what is meant by a computer network. Also, before discussing about computer network, first let us try to understand what is a network. Now, student, as you know, that whenever you are trying to interact by gaining some information or by giving some information, at that time you are actually creating a network or you are working inside a network. Okay, so what is a network? Actually, network is an interaction. Okay, for the exchange of informations between group of peoples. Okay, so whenever we are talking about the computer networks means again we are talking about the exchange of informations among the different systems of the computers. Okay, so now let's see what it is mentioned according to the book. Also, let's see what is the outline in which you have to study about the introduction of the computer network. Okay, then the types of networks inside the computer network, and then the network topologies, and then we'll later on discuss about the network devices. So let's move to the introduction part first. In the history of mankind, networking in any form has always given better results, better outcomes, and better utilization of resources. Okay, now you can say that according to the history of mankind, you have seen that in the network you are having a better result in any form. Okay, better outcomes and a better utilization of resources. How? For example, it is given that you want to buy a certain book which is not available at the bookshop near you, but your friend who lives in a different part of the city, he can buy it for you as this book is available in the bookshop near his house. You happily agree to this, and the next day in school he hands over the book to you and you pay to him the book price. Okay, both are happy. He is happy to help, you are happy to get the book and to have a helping friend. Now you can see here in this example, it is actually showing the profit of having a networking. Okay, so whatever the example you have studied here is was actually showing you the human network. Now here one person is having some resource and the other person is in requirement of that resource. So in that case there should be a network between them so that the resources can be exchanged from one place to other. Okay, so in this case the first friend was having the money for the book, but he was not able to purchase the book because he was not having a shop nearby to purchase that book. But since he was having one of his friend who was living nearby that bookshop, so he can ask his friend to buy or purchase that book from the bookshop, and in the next day he can give him the money. Okay, so actually there was a resource with the second friend, and the first friend was in need of that resource. Okay, so this resource fulfilling or this exchange of this data has happened because of the network. Okay, so here it was a human network. Okay, so now let's see what how it is related to the connections among the computers. Okay, so here it is mentioned that connection among humans make human network and connection among computers make computer networks. Okay, obviously whenever the humans are interacting they are going to form a human network. In the similar way, when the different systems or the computers are going to interact, they will create a chain of computers or the computer networks. Okay, now let's see what is a computer network. A computer network is a collection of interconnected autonomous computing devices so as to exchange information or share resources. Now it is mentioned here that it is a collection of interconnected. Interconnected means again it is forming a chain of the systems. Okay. Now these are interconnected, that means all the systems are connected to one another and they have created a collection, and they are the autonomous computing devices. Autonomous means there's already a connection and they are exchanging the information with them. Okay, it is happening autonomously. Okay, so as to share the information or exchanging the information for fulfilling the resources of different systems. Okay, so if system 1 requires a resource, it can interact with the system 2 who is already available with the resources. So there is exchange of information between system 1 and system 2. So actually it is forming a computer network. Okay, that is also mentioned here. Two or more autonomous computing devices connected to one another in order to exchange information or share resources forms a computer network. Now here also it is example. For example, if in your home you can connect your smartphone, your laptop with your smart TV, gaming console, and a printer simultaneously, either using cables or through Wi-Fi, it will be termed as a computer network. Okay. Now here also you are using a computer network, because how it is mentioned that in example that if in your home you can connect your smartphone, your laptop with your smart TV. Okay, that is if you're having your smartphone or the laptop and you are connecting it with your smart TV, the gaming console or a printer simultaneously. Okay, so actually what you are doing, you are creating a computer network. Okay, it can be with the help of cables or it can be with the help of Wi-Fi, but in both of these conditions you are creating a computer network. Okay, now let's see an example here with the sorry, a figure here. So here you can see that different systems here are managed here. This is a computer 1, this is a computer 2, this is a computer 3, and set of printers are there. Okay, a broadband modem is there, and there is a Wi-Fi router. Okay, now what this Wi-Fi router is doing, it is creating establishing a connection. Now here you can see that the computer 1 or computer 2 has been wirelessly connected with this router. Okay, and this router is actually connected with a broadband connection. Okay, here you can see this is a broadband modem, and through that it is connected with the Wi-Fi router. Okay, and this Wi-Fi router is connected already with the systems. Okay, also this router is connected with the entertainment consoles, the computer 3, and the different printers here. Okay, so actually this Wi-Fi is helping us to create a computer network. So the information exchanges between different devices can be done with the help of this established computer network. Okay, now let's see what are the different advantages and disadvantages of a network. So first here you can see the advantages of network include the shared resources. That means in this case also you can see that such as printers and scanners. This is cheaper than buying equipment for each computer. Okay. Now see, if there is a printer for your system, okay, and you have connected or you have created a network with that printer of your system. Now what will happen, it is means this will be cheaper than buying the equipment for each computer. Obviously, suppose if you are having 30 to 35 systems in your computer lab. Okay, and different students are working on the different systems, and finally after creating all their projects or the documents, they want a printout of all these things. So do you think it will be better to keep different printers for them? Because you don't need, okay, only one printer is enough for sharing the resources. Okay, and if everybody has created their documents, they will use that same printer. Okay, since all the systems are connected to the same network. Okay, and the printer is also connected to the same network. So what it will do, it will help you to share the resources for different systems, and the different systems will have different projects. All those projects can be printed through a single printer. Okay, so what it has done, it has minimized the cost for buying equipment separately for each computer. Okay, also here you can see share storage. Share storage means being able to access files from any machines on the network and can share data. Now what will happen? Suppose again you are talking about the connection in the systems. Again 30 students are sitting in the same computer lab, and different resources are there in different systems. Okay. Now we can also make the storage shareable. Okay, that means the files can be accessed from any machine on the network. That means if you are using an IP messenger or different applications are there, and what they are doing, they are actually showing you the way that by which you can share the storage. Okay, so if one system is having a particular resource, it can be shared to the different other machines. Okay, or the different other systems. So you don't need to worry about creating the same file everywhere. Okay, if you are having a file storage in a particular system, so that storage system can be used for other systems too. Okay, with the help of this network. Also, there is sharing of the software. The software can be installed internally, sorry, centrally, rather than on each machine. So if you have installed a software on a single system. Now that can be installed centrally, okay, rather than on each machine. Metering software can then be used to limit the number of copies being run at any one time. This is much cheaper than buying licenses for every machine. Okay, now again it is showing you that if you have got a shareable software, okay, and now you have installed it on a centrally connected machine. That means all the particular machine which has got all the software running in it, and rather all other systems are being connected to that particular system. Now we can do here that we will install the softwares on this centrally connected system, and from that system metering software can be used for limiting the number of copies being run at any one time. Okay, so with this networking we can do this work also. We can share the software also improve communications. Messages can be sent to the internet or email. Okay, internal email, that it is also a kind of IP transactional or IP data information. With that, we can share the internal email. Okay, it is not going to be required to use the internet connection. For that, you can internally share the mails. Okay, now these are the advantages of the network, but at the same time, let's see the flip side of that coin, and the disadvantages of networks are also there. That the systems are more sophisticated and complex to run. This can add to cost, and you may need specialist staff to run the network. Okay, again, since there is a bulk of systems working together, so the system become a bit sophisticated or a complex system, and this will add to cost, and you may need specialist staff to run the network. Okay, so everyone cannot use it, or everyone cannot run it. You need a specialized staff to run this whole network or the management system. Okay, now see, if networks are badly managed, services can become unusable and productivity falls. That means it is good to have a network, but if the connection of the network is not proper, then what will happen? The services will become unusable. Okay, or it may cause hindrance in the soft procedure of working. Okay, though if the smooth functioning of the network is not happening, that means it is going to add to the productivity fails. Okay, now see, if software and files are held centrally, it may be impossible to carry out any work if the central server fails. Again, you are saying that all the things are being managed by a central system. Now, what happens if that central system fails? In that case, there can be a possibility that since all the softwares were there on the central system, and since the central system has stopped working, now where would you get those softwares? Again, you have to install in different systems, or you have to create a new central hub for the networks. Okay, so that is again a disadvantage of the networking. Okay, also, people become reliant on the communications. If these fail, it can cause havoc. And now you know that since in a network multiple people are working together, so in any case there is a failure in the networking, so all the people who are working together will get means disturbed by that. Okay, it can cause a havoc situation. Okay, everybody will find themselves working in a miserable environment, and they will be means exhausted for that high time work. Okay, so that is again a disadvantage of the network. The next thing is the file security is more important, especially if connected to WANs. Example, protection from viruses. It is also showing that file security is more important. That means again you are sharing the files to different systems. Now there is a security of file required. Okay, if all the systems are connected together, that means everybody is able to access the resources. Now in that case there is a means you have to compromise with the file security. Okay, so that is also a disadvantage or the demerit of the network. Okay, now let's see. uh, Computer networks are very useful in many ways. They facilitate resource sharing. Resources such as storage softwares on the network can be shared. Okay, enhance communication, cost reduction, and so forth. Okay, so these things are also there. Basically, you can say in advantages, the computer network is having upper hand over the advantages, because compared to the disadvantages there are many promising advantages of the network. That's why obviously we are going to use it. Okay, If something is being used in the particular system or an organization, that means there are certain set of advantages which are having an upper hand over the disadvantages. Okay, so that's why this computer networks are being used. Okay, so the main prime advantages are by facilitating the resource sharing, okay, and then the enhanced communication, as also the cost reduction of the network has provided an upper hand to this computer network in this IT environment or this computer based environment. Okay. Now it is also mentioned that please note that now onwards we shall use the term computer network and networks interchangeably. That means now whenever we are going to mention about the networks, that means we are going to talk about the computer networks. Okay. So we don't have to be disturbed by this thing that why we are talking about network. Actually, from here on, we are going to term computer network as network. Okay. Now it is also mentioned about components of a computer network. Now let's see what are the components. Merely by joining two computers with a cable won't form a network. Now someone says that I am going to join two computers with a cable. So do I can I create a network from them? So you can say that it is not a proper definition of the network. In fact, there are many other components that together make a network. We are briefly discussing below the major components of a computer network. Now let's see what are the major components which are going to create a good computer network or a promising computer network. Okay, which can fulfill all its advantages. Now see, major components are the hosts slash nodes such as PC, laptops, smartphones, etc. Okay, so these different single systems are termed as hosts, as well as they are also known as nodes. Okay, second is the servers, then the clients, then the network hardware. Network hardware will include NIC, routers, switch, hub, etc. Okay, the communication channel is required, and in the communication channel you are having the cables or the radio links. Okay, also there is a software, so software such as protocols, network operating systems, etc. Okay, and the last one is the network services. In the network services you are having DNS, file sharing, etc. Okay, so we will discuss one by one for them. Now let's see what is their first part, that is the host or the nodes. Now host or the nodes, the term host or node refers to the computers that are attached to a network and are seeking to share the resources of the network. Now see now see we have termed that the host or node refers to the computers that are attached to a network. That means these all systems or the computers should be attached to a particular network and are seeking to share the resources of the network. Okay, so they are in demand of the resources. Okay, of course if there were no nodes, also called the workstations, there would be no network at all. Obviously, for example, when we were discussing about the human networks also, if there is no sharer of the resources, nobody is willing to share and nobody is ready to accept the resources, or there is nobody who is in need of the resources, so there was so there would have been no concept of the networking. Okay, in the similar way here also we are saying that obviously there should be two types of persons requirement, that is one who is sharing the resources and others who are seeking for those resources. Okay, so if there were no nodes, so there would be no network at all. Okay, so your PCs, laptops, smartphone, etc., when connected to a network becomes host. So as soon as these single entities, that is the PCs or the laptops or the smartphone, whenever you are going to connect them to a network, as soon as it gets a part of the network or it gets joined to that network, now it has become an integral part of the network and it has been known as the host. Okay, so after joining to the network, it will become a host. Now let's see what is a server. A server is a very important computer in a network. A server is responsible for making the networking task happen. In other words, a server facilitates networking tasks like sharing of data, resource sharing, communication among hosts, etc. Now I have told you that there should be two people for a network minimum, that is one should be asking the resources and one should be sharing the resources. Now the host of the nodes are the person who are going to ask for the resources or who are seeking for the resources, and the server is the person or the system, okay, who is sharing those resources. Obviously server will share something, okay, it will serve something. So here you can see server, a computer that facilitates the sharing of data, software and hardware resources, example printers, modem, etc. On the network is termed as a server. Think it is clear to you. Now on small networks sometimes, here you can see, on the small network sometimes all the shareable stuff like the files, data, software, etc. is stored on the server. A network can have more than one server also. Obviously, it may be dependent upon that uh, network structure or how big the network is. So there can be demand for the more than one server also to handle the requests of the host. Okay, so each server has a unique name on the network, and all the users of the network identify the server by its unique name. Now see, if multiple people or multiple systems are organized in a network, now, if it is a big network or a huge network, obviously there can be multiple servers. So all those servers need to have a unique name so that the users try means the host can understand that from which server they have to interact, okay, or from which system they are getting the resource, or to which system they are sharing the resource. Okay, so all this can be identified there by their unique name. That is, all the servers running on the network will have a different network identity. Okay. Now, on big networks, there can be servers dedicated to specialized tasks. Example, a file server only handles files related to requests. Okay, a printer server only handles printing requests, and so on. Now, that only I was talking about, that if in a big network you are working, so in that case, different servers will be required there, and each server will be given a specified task. Okay, like this server A is being used for file serving, and this server B is being used for printer. Okay, so dedicated tasks will be given to those servers. Okay, now there are clients. The client is the related term. A client computer is a host computer that requests for some services from a server. In other words, a server computer serves the request of the client computer. Okay, so here you can say that a client computer is a host computer. Okay, actually it is a host that requests for some services from a server. So it is going to seek resources. It will be in need of the resources, and it is going to ask those resources from the server. So in other words, a server computer serves the request of the client computers. So you need a server computer to serve the request for these client computers. Okay. Next is the network hardware. So in network hardware, we are having these NIC and the hub and the switch. Okay. So what is network hardware? Other than hosts and wiring, a network requires specialized hardware to carry out various roles such as establishing connections, it should be connections, okay, controlling network traffic, etc. There are many different types of hardware that are required in a network. So some examples of the network hardware are the NIC. Okay, so you must have heard about this name NIC, that is the network interface unit or the network interface card. So it is a network card attached to a host so as to establish network connections. Okay, so it will establish the network connections. Okay. Now every NIC card has a unique physical address called the MAC address, which is a 6 byte 48 bits address assigned by the NIC manufacturer. So whatever the NIC manufacturer will be there, it is going to create a MAC address for these NIC cards. Okay, and this MAC address is actually a 6 byte or 48 bits address. Okay, and NIC is also called the network interface unit, NIU, or terminal access point, TAP. Okay, so these three names are there for this NIC. First is the NIC, that is network interface unit, or NIU, that is network interface card or network interface unit. And there's also third name, that is the terminal access point, TAP. Okay, now this is one hardware of the network. There's a different set of other hardware also, like the hub, switch, or router. So these are basically used for as a connectivity devices. Okay, so they are going to be using the network for the connection purposes. Okay, there are many other certain hardware devices that are need not to be mentioned here because that is in a very detailed part. But overall, you can say that these things are responsible for the working of a network. Okay. So what the different things we have discussed. That was the first thing was this one. That is the host or the nodes who were seeking the request, who were in the need of the resources. Then there was a server who was going to serve those resources. Then the There was the client. The client is actually a computer which is going to ask the resources from the server computer. There was a network hardware. So the network hardware will include these hardware devices, that is the NIC or the network interface card, which is created for the purpose of establishing the connections between the network. Okay, and also these cards are being created with the NIC manufacturers, and they used to provide it a MAC address, which is a 6 byte or 48 bits address. Now this NIC also requires some other hardwares also, like the hub or the switch or the router. So these are only purposely meant for creating the connectivity among the networks. Okay, so that's it for today, students. We'll continue the lecture in the next video. Okay, thank you, students.